Okay, so the other one we got sent to us is All the World for Him, spelled with a four, um, from Radiant Heart. And this hasn't come out yet, although by the time this goes up, it will be out. So it comes out in the 1st of December. Um, so yeah, like I said, by the time this goes up, it will be out, so you can
Yeah.
listen to it. So Radiant Heart are a kind of indie folk duo from London, um, and this is the first single from their album Brocken Spectre, which also comes out on that same day, December 1st. I initially thought Brocken Spectre was a typo. Um,
Oh, is it? Because I've
yeah,
written Broken Spectre. Brocken.
it's Brocken Spectre
What
because I
is
originally
Brocken?
thought it was a typo in the email, and then I looked around like on everything, like on the video, on like all the material, it's Brocken Spectre. So it's like you can't get that typo every time. And it turns out that Brocken Spectre is a magnified shadow of an observer cast on the clouds in the opposite direction to the sun. So you imagine somebody up on top of a mountain with the sun at their back, and kind of they're projecting their massive shadow onto a cloud. So that's a Brocken Spectre. Um,
Fair
so
enough.
yeah. I meant to say earlier that I found out that AHA are Norwegian,
They
from
are, yeah.
that Manhattan skyline thing. So I also now know what a Brocken Spectre is. So I've learned quite a lot on this podcast already.
Yeah.
Um, so anyway, so the world for all the world for him is the first single from the album, and apparently tells the story of a real life experience that the band members Celia McDougall and Chris Moore had while out swimming one day. I think a young boy started drowning. Chris jumped in to try and save him and nearly drowned himself, which was a fairly traumatizing experience for everybody involved. So this track, the lyrics, and the kind of sound of it, I suppose, are kind of partly based on that and the experiences of young love, I think,
Mhm.
is what they've said. So um, it opens with this kind of slow, ponderous acoustic guitar, before layering up with sort of soothing vocal harmonies and a mixture of both kind of bassy and tinkling piano melodies, which weave in and out of the main melody. Um, these kind of restrained male and female vocals, and acoustic melodies remind me a lot of bands like Tongue, who we're going to talk more about later. And it's incredibly relaxing to listen to. Um, there's not a ton of variation throughout the song. There's the odd piano flourish here and there. So I think the song's only just over 2.5 minutes. So with that in mind, it kind of manages to not overstay its welcome. I think if it was a bit longer, without doing much more, then it might become a bit boring. But
Mhm.
at its kind of current length, I think it's decent. And there's an opening melody on there that reminds me a bit of the song "How Many Roads Must a Man Walk Down" by Joan Baez. Is that even how you pronounce Joan Baez?
You're unbiased. And Bob Dylan.
And Bob Dylan, yeah. And it kind of
That's a yeah, that I never actually thought of that.
there's just a sort of, I think it's the first bit of
Just
the,
a moment.
just like the first few words of the verse or something. I've got that kind of same melody, and then it goes in a totally different kind of more like melancholy direction. But I like when there's bits and pieces like that kind of sprinkled in music, and I
Yeah.
didn't have to tell like a 40-minute story to explain um, where that bit of music was from. But anyway, I think it's pretty good. The instrumentation's good, vocals are strong enough. I think your reaction to this is kind of going to depend on your tolerance, your general tolerance to like kind of indie acoustic music, really. But be keen to hear what the rest of the album sounds like compared
Yeah.
to this, definitely.
It kind of reminded me a wee bit of like the Moldy Peaches, and I don't know if that's just because of the kind of male and female vocals.
Yeah.
Also a wee bit of have you ever heard of Luke Ritchie?
No, I don't think so.
So that's the actor Charlotte Ritchie's brother.
Who's Charlotte Ritchie?
Charlotte Ritchie was in Fresh Meat, and I think she's been on Call the Midwife. Not that I've watched that, but
It's
I
the
know she's
program that my mum watches, but I
I'm
don't.
quite into Charlotte Ritchie. Like she's a bit of a crush of mine. But Luke Ritchie's stuff has kind of featured on the soundtrack for Fresh Meat, and occasionally they do stuff together. And again, it's nice. It's worth checking out. I think there's only maybe a handful of songs available on YouTube, but it did kind of remind me of that as well.
Cool. Well, I've given this a 7 out of 10. I think it's pretty good.
I would agree with you there, man. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I don't know if the whole album is kind of like it doesn't vary too much from this. I don't. I
I
maybe
think that would be. I think that would be a hard listen. Like, I mean, I enjoyed this song, but I mean, if the whole album was like this, it could get quite samey.
yeah, totally. But well, it's just guessing, really, isn't it? So
Totally,
I'm looking forward to hear that when it comes out on
definitely.
December 1st. So that was All the World for Him by Radiant Heart.